Hi folks, welcome back to Backyard Aviary Adventures. This one is a long weekend on the east coast. So we're going to head initially to Bampton Cliffs, which is near Flamborough Head. Stay overnight there, maybe head to Spurn the following day, and we don't know past there. It's autumn migration, things are really hotting up, there's lots of different species to see. Our main thing to see is a red-headed bunting. It's a youngster that's been there, that's a mega. And there's only been a handful of those ever seen in the UK, so we need to try and do that tomorrow. And a few other things we want to do, like mop up some birds that Kaylee hasn't seen that are British.
Need a couple more lifers, really.
Yeah, some British birds that are slightly rarer, like twite and black redstart and
Which
things
everybody
like
else
that.
has seen.
Yeah, we'd love to get a firecrest for her,
That'd be amazing.
but we don't know. Anyway, we're heading there now. We've just eaten a wonderful Leon, which is a great little takeaway. I mentioned it on a previous video, and we're heading to the east coast now. Stick with us, should be a great long weekend. The drive to Bampton Cliffs should have been a simple one. It usually takes between 3 and 3.5 hours. This time it was a nightmare. Stuck in lots of traffic.
It's absolutely driving us
Madness. Oh, I can move in 2 minutes.
all of like 3.3 seconds.
This is miserable.
Oh, the truck's going to try and sneak in.
It took us over 5 hours to get there, through roadworks, diversions and traffic. Eventually, to our delight, we finally got to some quiet roads and made our way to Bampton, arriving just after midnight. Evening folks, or morning probably now. We finally got to Bampton. A journey that should have taken us just a couple of, 3 hours, 3 and a bit hours. Has taken us five and a bit hours. There were roadworks and diversions and traffic and horrendous fog and absolutely everything was going against us. So we're both pretty tired. It's after midnight and I think we're going to bed soon. But hopefully good birding tomorrow. See you in the morning. Hey folks, welcome back. Good morning. I'm at Bampton Cliffs. Sun's just come up. It's nearly 8 o'clock. There's quite a sound of geese around, which is kind of pretty cool. Just spoken to a couple of birders. There's not that much around here. Nice shorted owl that somebody saw this morning. I think we're going to get ready and head towards Flamborough Head because there's a couple of things there, including a mega. Stick with us. This should be cool. Bampton Cliffs is one of my favourite RSPB reserves. Great in the spring for seeing gannets really close and lots of other seabirds too, including puffins. This time of the year the cliffs are much quieter, but one of my favourite birds lives here, the tree sparrow. But now it was time to head out and look for a mega. Or two.
Where are we going?
Hey folks, we just left Bampton Cliffs car park and we are heading to Flamborough Head. There's not just one mega there, but a second one's been reported this morning. So we're after a red-headed bunting, which this one's a juvenile, and it's only been seen in the UK a handful of times. And then I think it was a two-barred warblers turned up this morning. So I'm going for the bunting first, and then hopefully for the warbler afterwards. Stick with us. After about 20 minutes and one wrong turn, we arrived at the lighthouse at Flamborough. The car park was already busy for the two megas that were nearby. Hey everybody, Kaylee's got the wrong footwear on apparently. She should have put her boots on, she's got her pumps on. And it's very...
trying to get you quick, didn't think.
I know, it's muddy underfoot. We've come to try and get the two-barred warbler. I hope you can hear me, it's a little windy. We tried to get that first because the bunting's been there for a while and this hasn't. So on the way we passed a couple of people who apparently may have spotted a Dusky warbler and a Pallas's warbler, so it's all happening this morning. We're going to go for the mega first and see what else we find on the return journey. As we walked down towards where the two-barred warbler had been sighted, we spotted a lot of other birders who were looking for a Dusky warbler, another rarity. We soon arrived through the mud to where the two-barred warbler had been seen, and it was showing lovely. Briefly, and flighty, but I got this little footage. As we were about to leave, it flew up in the air and caught a fly in mid-flight. What an excellent bird. This species is quite a rarity in the UK, with only 11 accepted records. It breeds in Russia, China and Mongolia, and then winters in Southeast Asia. Hey folks, it was brief, really but it was a success. We've just seen a mega. A two-barred warbler, type of leaf warbler. I wasn't really even aware of it before it showed up this morning.
But at least we've seen it.
But it was lovely. I got a lovely little video. I couldn't get any photographs because it was really mobile. But amazing. We even saw it flying up to try and catch a fly, which was stunning. Next. After witnessing this stunning bird, we had a cup of tea and then headed to the other mega. This bird has been in the area for over a week and is a young red-headed bunting, a visitor from Central Asia. We're on the way to try and find the other mega, the red-headed bunting. It's very, very muddy underfoot. Like, it's dangerously muddy underfoot. This walk should have taken us 23 minutes, and I think it's taken us, well, I think it's tomorrow already. So, anyway, we'll carry on.
Scream, it's me.
Apparently it's been showing on and off, so that's reasonably encouraging. Stick with us. If you don't see us again, we'll be under about half a ton of mud. We took the extremely muddy cliff top path round to where the red-headed bunting had been sighted, passing many other birders on the way who had seen it, although intermittently. When we arrived, it wasn't present, so we found a place among the many other birders, set up scope on a grassy bank that overlooked all the vegetation where the bunting had been showing up. Apparently the red-headed bunting had been mixing with some other bunting species like yellowhammer and reed bunting. So, like all the other birders, we set about scanning the tops of the bushes to try and pick out this quite pale, unassuming little bird. After a short time, a sparrowhawk flew through and all the birds lifted and then dropped back down again. One of the birders shouted, "It's there, it's there," and in the top of a tree was our bird, the red-headed bunting, a bit of a silhouette against the sun. The juvenile of this species can be really easily mistaken for another rare bird, the black-headed bunting, but apparently this specific individual has been confirmed as a red-headed bunting juvenile. This species usually breeds in Central Asia and winters in India. There have only been 4 sightings of this little bunting in the UK since the turn of the century, so this is a really special bird. We stood and watched it for some time as it jumped around and preened in the little tree. Eventually it moved off and landed a little bit further away in some bushes. Finally we lost sight of it, but what an amazing bird. Hey folks, second lifer of the day and second mega of the day. A red-headed bunting, a youngster. It was a little bit of a distance, but we had great views.
Really good views.
It was great views. The pictures and footage might be a little shaky and a little dark because the sun was against us, but it was amazing nevertheless. That's 2 megas in one kind of area in one time. Super. What next? When we finally got back to the lighthouse along the muddy path, there was loads of birders watching a bush, and apparently the Dusky warbler that had been sighted earlier in the day had moved. So we joined them, checking all the bushes and undergrowth. This species, another visitor from East Asia, are notoriously shy and difficult to get footage of. This unassuming little warbler is quite plain and a dark brown, hence why it got its name Dusky warbler. Ultimately, I got this video, and if you look closely, you can see it moving around in all the undergrowth. This is about the best it could get. But again, a great bird. Not only that, another lifer. We went back to the lighthouse area where someone had mentioned a Pallas's warbler. On the way down there, we bumped into a friendly bird that we've seen before, who helped us pick out a Dusky warbler. Very brief sighting in some undergrowth. The video's not great, but it's the little bird. We then went on to look for the Pallas's warbler, which showed, although extremely briefly, when it did show, it showed lovely.
It's really good.
No videos, but I got a couple of photos. That is a bird we have seen in the past, but we had horrendous views last time. So Kaylee's very happy with it.
Very happy.
So, what a morning so far.
It's just been absolutely incredibly nuts, isn't it?
Megas and everything.
Yeah.
So, we're not sure what to do next. We're going to head probably to try and find a black redstart that's been seen reasonably local, and then from then on head down the coast south. Stick with us. Goodness knows what's going to happen. Autumn migration.
Where are we going?
Hey folks, we're off to Flamborough Head Co-op store. Not for groceries this time, but someone earlier this morning, about an hour and a half ago, saw a black redstart there, which is a bird which would be a lifer for Kaylee. So although it might have gone by now, we're going to check it out anyway. When we arrived at the co-op, there was no black redstart. There was a tree with some gold crest, but we moved on quick. Hey folks, we unfortunately dipped on the black redstart. It wasn't there, although I did get lovely views of a gold crest in a tree, which is always nice to see. It's gone colder, certainly, hence the woolly hat. We're at North Landing, which is absolutely gorgeous. Somebody's posted that they saw a ring ouzel here before, so we thought, we're going to try again. In for a penny, in for a pound. A couple of videos ago we tried to see one, just for reference there. Right, let's go, let's do it, stick with us. The North Landing area of Flamborough Head is absolutely stunning with amazing scenery. There are white cliffs, small coves with little stone beaches. It's really picturesque. The only issue this time, it was extremely muddy again.
I don't know yet. Well, it's a bit here. No, it's not too bad. Sugar. The seat's fine! Absolutely fine.
Wonderful. I think I may have seen the ring ouzel, but I can't confirm it. I did see a few other birds, mainly numerous rock doves. There were a few other birds, some flying overhead like redwing and fieldfare, the occasional bird landing, like this song thrush that landed on a post near us. Eventually, despite the amazing landscape, we decided to head back to the van and decide what our next move is. En route, passing these lovely deer. When we arrived back at the car park, we saw another birder who had seen the ring ouzel quite close, so we rushed to where he'd seen it. Unfortunately, it wasn't there anymore. There were quite a lot of dog walkers and children about, so we think it may have been spooked. So, again, back to the van.
Where are we going?
Hey folks, unfortunately we did not see the ring ouzel.
You thought you might have done.
We thought we might have done. Also, there was a gentleman as we came at the car park we chatted to who had seen it, had a lovely photograph, showed us where it was, but when we arrived it wasn't there. Never mind, we are now on our way towards Easington, as someone earlier today saw a rough-legged buzzard there, which is really special. Let's go and have a look, keep with us. We headed on about an hour and a half journey down to where the rough-legged buzzard had been seen, trying to get there before it got dark. There was some confusion where it had been sighted because there are two birds around the area. We didn't head to the Easington bird because that seemed to be mobile. We headed towards the Stone Creek one as that sighting seemed more reliable. Hello again folks. We are at Stone Creek, going to hopefully find a rough-legged buzzard. We just bumped into a couple of other birders who have seen it today and reasonably recently. Apparently it's showing. There's some other birds as well, like hen harriers and shorted owls, so that'd be lovely if we get some of those. Let's keep our fingers crossed we get this rough-legged buzzard, because that would make a fourth lifer for the day. As we arrived, it was slowly getting towards dusk and there were plenty of birds of prey. As we walked down the embankment towards where the rough-legged buzzard had been sighted in the day, we passed a marsh harrier hunting, and in the distance a couple of short-eared owls. As we moved further along the bank, we started getting closer and closer views of these owls hunting in the stubble fields next to the embankment. It was incredible to see these silent, stealthy hunters flying close to us and then away, trying to pick off rodents from the field. As we got further along the embankment, the short-eared owls were joined by barn owls, these silent hunters looking ghostly with their pale plumage. This individual stood on a post for a while, watching a short-eared owl that was hunting below it. Eventually, after quite a walk, we caught up with two other young birders who pointed the rough-legged buzzard out to us. It was at quite a distance, but it was sat conspicuously on top of a bush. We watched it for a while and then decided to walk a bit further along the embankment to see if we could get a little closer. When we got round a set of trees, we looked back on the bush and the rough-legged buzzard had disappeared, only to fly back in a few moments later. This species breeds on Arctic tundra in Alaska, Canada, Scandinavia and Russia, and only arrives in the UK in small numbers in winter. This individual was a juvenile. It was very confiding and we watched it for quite some time. As the light was fading, we decided to head back along the embankment. Arguably, I'd say this is the best place I've ever been for raptors.
It's amazing.
It's nuts. En route, we had absolutely fantastic views of ringtail hen harriers. The ringtail type are the females that are brown with a white ring around the base of the tail. The males of this species are grey with black wingtips. Hen harrier numbers in the UK have declined dramatically, some due to habitat loss, but a large number being illegally shot for hunting on grouse moors. The conflict between the grouse gamekeepers and this wonderfully majestic bird of prey has made this species the most intensely persecuted bird in Britain. Ultimately, we felt very privileged to see these birds at such close range. Hello there. Yet another successful bit of twitching. One rough-legged buzzard at a hell of a distance, but it was great to see. And some of the views of raptors here. We've had short-eared owls, barn owls, hen harriers, kestrel. It's crazy. And in front of me at the moment there's a massive flock of like fieldfare and what I think must be redwing and fieldfare. I've only managed to get footage of the fieldfare, but amazing. What a place and what a day. You can hear the fieldfare. What a place and what a day. I think we're going to go grab some food and a pint to celebrate. Stick with us until tomorrow. We'll be at Kilnsea and Spurn. As we got towards the van and the light dropped even more, a lot of the winter thrushes were coming in to roost, the most numerous being the fieldfare. As well as these small birds in the fields, there were some waders coming in, like this curlew, and then looking out onto the estuary, there were hundreds upon hundreds of geese flying through, flying into roost as well. That was a good cue for us to go to the pub, the Crown and Anchor in Kilnsea, and have a couple of pints. I think it was well deserved after a day with 2 megas, 4 lifers and some other amazing birds as well. Wow, what next? We woke up to a very, very wet and blustery scene with birds trying to hang onto the branches to stop themselves being blown away. Morning, we're both up, it's very windy, I hope you can hear me. We're at Kilnsea and we are ready to go birding again after yesterday's unbelievable day. I don't know how we're going to top that off, but let's go birding. We took a walk along the beach a short while and then back around the car park, just seeing what birds were around, most abundantly being house sparrows and starlings. This group holding on to this antenna, battling the wind. At this point we headed the few minutes up the road to Kilnsea wetlands to see if there are any waders about. Hey folks, we're here at Kilnsea wetlands. There's my wonderful wife. It's breezy, very windy, a bit chilly. Hoping the sun will break through at some point soon properly. We're going to see what waders there are at Kilnsea wetlands. Hopefully something unusual will turn up, but hopefully we'll see some other cool stuff as well. So stick with us, should be a fun day. When we arrived at the hide, it was reasonably quiet. There were a group of avocet feeding in the shallows near the hide, and also a little further out there were a handful of ducks, like this lovely male shoveler. We decided at this point to move on to the screen and then on to Beacon Pond, but something got in our way.
Just want it on film when you fall in.
After giving up at what we aptly named Big Puddle, we headed back towards Spurn to see what was in the fields, the first field being Churchfield. As normal, this time of year we were joined by a very tame robin, and as we walked further there were a few winter thrushes. This occasion, redwing seemed to be the most numerous. We did come across this very showy greenfinch that was eating berries at the top of a tree, and as we got back to the road there were loads and loads of wood pigeons gorging on the berries. Our route took us past the estuary where the tide was low. There were some birds feeding in the mud like this shelduck. There was also some waders, the most numerous being dunlin and also redshank, this one being particularly close to the sea wall. We then walked up to the warren where there were plenty of other birders. Apparently someone had seen a dusky warbler, one of the birds we'd seen the previous day at Flamborough. This time I got no footage at all, but did see the bird flying from one bush to another. Excellent.
Hey folks, you can see Kaylee behind me. We've spent the last kind of couple of hours wandering around the Spurn, kind of Kilnsea area, just seeing what's about. We've just had a view again, although brief, of another dusky warbler. So that was a lifer from yesterday. We've had another one. So we're going to celebrate by having some breakfast.
Excellent. Time for tea, and we've ordered a sandwich as well.
Hey, happy Kaylee, big sandwich. Oh yeah.
After a lovely breakfast, we headed to Canal Scrapehide to see what was about there. When we arrived, there was a few birds present, including this little grebe that was fishing in between the reeds. Also, there was a very showy moorhen, and sat smack bang in the middle of the water, there was a male shoveler that was sleeping. The male shoveler's partner, we presumed, was feeding behind where the male shoveler was sleeping. Scanning across the reeds at the back, we did see very camouflaged two snipe. See if you can pick them out in the photo. As we were about to leave, the little grebe was joined by a friend, them both swimming and fishing against the reeds. But now it was time to move on. We headed back up the lane towards the warren. Kaylee, before breakfast, had spotted a mealy redpoll in some bushes. We didn't get any footage or any photographs. We just got a brief view of what looked like two birds before they flew off. This is a lifer for Kaylee, so she was determined to get better views and hopefully some footage.
Hey folks, we're still at Spurn after our delicious breakfast, as always at Spurn Discovery Centre. We headed back out to see what else was about, and unfortunately it's a bit quiet. There's not much here. I've got footage of pretty much everything I've seen. We had a lovely brief view of a what's it called, mealy redpoll, which is common redpoll, for your information, which is actually the least common of the two species of redpoll in the UK. But that is a lifer for Kaylee. So woo! So she's done well this weekend so far. So we're going to move on. Don't know where yet. We'll keep you posted. Stick with us.
After a lovely yet reasonably quiet morning, we left the rutting sheep behind and decided to head towards Hornsea Mere, where apparently a long-tailed duck had been seen. This detour didn't last long.
Hi folks, we just started heading off towards Hornsea Mere because there was a long-tailed duck there we wanted to see. Whilst we were on the way, Kaylee noticed on bird guides that some waxwings had turned up from
basically just where we'd come from.
So we've just done a mad turn round and we're rushing back.
We're going back to try and get you some waxwings for the video because they're super cool birds. Wish us luck, they might have moved on. We drove with urgency back to Kilnsea where the waxwings had been seen. When we arrived, the birds were on top of a bush but flew almost immediately. I just got this very blurred view of one leaving the bush. Hey folks, I've got to be quiet. The waxwing's kind of gone on the back burner because Kaylee's just seen her nemesis bird, the firecrest. She's very emotional about it, as you can see. I missed it. I was gutted.
100%.
Yeah, I
waited
missed
so
it.
long to see this bird.
I've missed it, so we're standing by this bush until it goes dark.
I'm sure
Because I need some footage of it. We stuck around for quite a while watching the hedge, hoping the firecrest would show up again. Unfortunately it didn't, although we did pick out some lovely gold crests, some coming really close, and I was able to get footage of this lovely little bird as it fed right next to us. But no firecrest for me. After rushing back to Spurn, after deciding to leave, we got brief views of waxwings, which are just one of my favourite birds anyway, and Kaylee seeing the firecrest, which is not only a lifer for her, but it's the lifer because it's the bird that she's been after for bloody ages. No. Mind my French. We've decided to stay. We were going to go elsewhere to try and pick up some more stuff, but Spurn's a strange place.
It just throws things at you.
Yeah, sometimes it's really quiet and sometimes it just throws birds at you when you least expect it.
It was out in the open, it was right there.
I wish I'd have seen it. So I want to see that, and I'd love to see some more waxwings, hoping that they might turn up. So we're going to actually stay here until tomorrow morning, and hope that we get some stuff later on tonight. Hope you don't mind, that's us being selfish rather than thinking of the video. Apologies. I'm going to start carrying a camera around with me just in case it happens again. Keep watching. Please keep watching. It's never a dull moment. Due to the nature of this area and birds coming in and disappearing at a moment's notice, we decided perhaps it was a good thing to stick around and see what happens. Hey folks, after deciding to stick around at Spurn, we're going to have a walk around some of the Friends of Spurn kind of field areas before it goes dark. We took a walk around some of the trails around the fields in the area, picking out a few little birds like this chiff-chaff. This species are breeding birds that migrate in the winter, but in recent years some have stuck around, like this individual that was feeding on a muck pile. As we were losing light, we walked past Spurn Observatory into Church Field, and we heard a familiar sound. It was a waxwing. We finally got a good view of one of the waxwings that was around previously in the day. This one sat on top of a tree. We watched it for a while, then walked back out onto the road where it was sat on top of another tree. This time a little bit of a silhouette, but a bit closer. Apparently, according to another birder, waxwings generally sit high in a tree, conspicuous before they go to roost. Eventually it flew off and we were left with a couple of feeding thrushes like this fieldfare. Before we called it a night, we headed back down to the beach to watch the sun go down. The waves were coming in quite violently. As the sun dropped even further, there was this absolutely majestic barn owl that came in over the marshes. This was a great bird to end our day. And now, time for another pint. They too are birding. Cheers.
I've just got my bike on your
Hand on my trousers. Good day. See you in the morning. Morning folks. It's been a rainy night. Like a really rainy night. There's Kaylee. It's been pretty stormy. At the moment it's actually quite still, although it's spitting with rain. We are gonna go and try and find me a firecrest because Kaylee got it yesterday and I feel just that little bit jealous.
So yeah, we've got a couple of hours before we have to go home. Stick with us, see what else we might find.
After a very windy and blustery night with a lot of rain, we woke up to a pretty flooded car park and a very dramatic sea. We decided to head into the fields again to see what was around, passing en route these goldfinch that were feeding in the grass. There were a few birds close to the car park in the fields, like this blackbird feeding on berries, and as we walked round into Sykes Field, we saw a deer that was watching us. Our route took us back out onto the main road that looked over a flooded field where there was a grey heron looking for its dinner, and it seemed to be pretty successful. It found a small morsel of something. Further up the road there was a magpie feeding. Goodness knows what it was feeding on. Looks like a mouse maybe. And then into Church Field where there was some smaller birds like this flock of siskin. And further up the main road another goldcrest. We now decided to head back to Kilnsea wetlands, see if we can contend with the big puddle.
Hello there. How are we doing? It's I don't know what time it is. It's about 9:30ish, maybe 10:15. We've had a bit of a look in the Spurn area, see what was around. We saw a few bits and bobs. No firecrest, unfortunately for me. So Kaylee's got that one on her own. Anyway, we've come to Kilnsea wetlands. Apparently there's a long-tailed duck here, but it's at a hell of a distance, and possibly even an American wigeon if we can get to it past that inaccessible puddle that you saw yesterday.
And it rained overnight as well.
And it rained overnight. It's raining now. Let's see.
There'd been a long-tailed duck seen from the first hide. This was a bird we'd only ever seen once before, so really worth a look. Looking out from the hide, there was avocets again, and a group of many gulls, including herring gull, greater blackback gull, which is the world's biggest gull, and also some black-headed gulls in winter plumage. Before long, one of the other birders picked out the long-tailed duck. This appeared to be quite a young bird in winter plumage that was feeding, constantly diving and coming up and diving again, feeding at the opposite side of the wetlands. This was a great bird to see and a much better view than we'd had previously. Now it was time to try and find the American wigeon that had been seen at Beacon Ponds. This meant crossing Big Puddle.
We're back at the puddle. I'm going to let Kaylee go in first this time because I'm so gentlemanly like that. She's worried. Grip hold of the side. I think I better go and help her. Oh.
After a few attempts, we finally made it with wet feet. We passed the screen where we looked through and saw a few birds, including this oyster catcher and teal that were near each other, and a few other waders like this godwit, and then on to Beacon Ponds. When we got there were so many ducks, it was going to be a challenge to pick out one American wigeon, but here goes. Setting the scope up, I scanned through many wigeon and teal, some in the water and some on the bank, eventually picking out the American wigeon. It had a far bigger white patch near the back of its body. This species is a transatlantic vagrant, a visitor from America. We had seen one of these species before on a previous video, but regardless, it's worth seeing and a real privilege, this one being an adult drake. After watching it for some time with two other birders, it was time to head back to the van.
Hey guys, success on both counts. Got both the long-tailed duck. It was at a bit of a distance, but it was diving and pretty cool really. Headed up past the big puddle, managed to get over it this time onto Beacon Ponds where there was an American wigeon, which was excellent. That's only the second time I've ever seen that. Took a bit of looking for, there's an awful lot of wigeon and other ducks on there, but found it in the end and it was looking cool. Not a bad way to get to the end of our video, but we've got one last place to go, which is the Warren. Stick with us for that.
Kaylee had gone ahead, so she was already in the van when I arrived, warming up as it was really cold. We had one last visit before we called it a day. Initially, we were going to go back to the Warren, but after seeing a report of a ring ouzel, a bird we'd missed out on earlier in the trip, we headed towards it. It was at Canal Scrape. Upon arrival, the bird flew overhead to behind the hide. the previous reports had said that the bird had been coming back in two, so I set up in the hide, hoping that it had come back into sight. We watched all the birds that were present, like the moorhen, the ubiquitous mallard duck, and the sleeping male shoveler that was there the previous day. It was still there, and still sleeping. And feeding on the grass at the edge of the pool there were some other birds like starlings, and also some redwings and song thrush. After a short while I saw a dark bird land at the top of a tree at the opposite side of the pool. It was the ring ouzel we were after. It didn't stay in the tree very long, it flew off. After a wait, the ring ouzel came back. It landed in the tree and then it went down onto the grass where it sat. It didn't sit there for long. It flew off again and again returned and landed in a berry bush. This time it stayed for quite a while, sitting and feeding on some of the berries in the bush. This was a great bird to end such an incredible weekend, and a bird we hadn't seen in a while, but now it was time to end and time to go back to the van.
Hello folks, how you doing? Instead of going to the Warren, we ended up going to Canal Scrape Pike because somebody said something about a ring ouzel, which is a bird in one of our very recent videos we went to try and see with our fellow YouTuber Stu and didn't see. This time we saw it. It was lovely. It was a bit of a distance, but good enough to tell what it was. Excellent, and that's a great way to end our day, well, and end our weekend. Please like,
Please subscribe,
and please press the notification bell.